this presentation is getting back to the basics, an introduction to microdosing. What is it? Can you all see my screen? Okay, so a standard microdose is, just for the context of this conversation, a standard microdose is 100 milligrams, which is a tenth of a gram, a subperceptual dose. To give you a good idea, just some basic math here. If someone wants to do some math on their calculator or iPhone and drop this in, I have way more life experience to share. That's just the tip of the iceberg, my friend. But it's very important. I am just a guy. I am just another human, just like you, that goes through trials and tribulations of life that we call this grand human experience. And you're not alone. So let's do some math. If someone wants to drop this into the chat, I would be forever grateful. So a standard microdose, I knew what you meant. That's why I needed some clarity, though, to make sure. Because 50 ukes is a standard microdose of or a standard dose of LSD, 50 to 150. So 100 milligrams is a standardized microdose of psilocybin. That is a tenth of a gram. And a basic dosing protocol is, let's just say, every other day. 1 day on, 2 days off, or every other day. So if you did a 90-day suggested journey, what we suggest at Medicine Box, let's just say 90 days divided by 2. Okay, who's following me there with math? 90 days divided by 2 is 45. Okay, thank you, Sabrina. 90 days divided by 2 is 45. Now multiply those 45 days that we would have an on day, right? 45 days on, 45 days off, if you were doing an every other day for easy math. 45 days times 100 equals 4,500 milligrams, or 4,500. Now 4,500 divided by 1,000 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram. Okay, 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram. 100 milligrams equals a tenth of a gram, which is a standard microdose. So 4,500 divided by 1,000 equals what? 4.5 grams. So this is neat when you do this little math exercise. I didn't know where this was going before we start, but I love doing this math exercise with people. So 4.5 grams over the course of what? 90 days. What else is 4.5 grams? 4.5 grams to 5 grams equals a hero dose, or what we know as a macrodose. Okay, these are all just, remember, these are all just labels, everybody. But it's a nice framework to understand. Someone asked about microdosing. Elise went on a psilocybin retreat and don't know where to start So your psilocybin retreat, Elise, I'm assuming it's probably was 3 days. You had food, you had drink, you had lodging, you had yoga, you had Reiki, you had massage, you had all the other things. And you may have done maybe 1 hero dose, maybe 2. Maybe you did 3 grams one day, took a day off, did 3 grams the next. I don't know. I'm just guessing. There was probably at least 1 hero macrodose in that retreat. So if you did a 90-day microdosing protocol, every other day is a day on, you would ingest 4.5 grams or a hero dose over the course of 90 days. So it's very gradual, right? It's consistent. You stay frequent and consistent, multiplied by your intention plus your introspection, and that's what equals close. 3 ceremonies, 2 hero doses. Hero doses, 3 grams, 4.5 grams, 9 grams in there. So now Elise understands what a macro dose is. However, there's a lot of integration that needs to happen there. So with microdosing, you can actually stretch out, right? Think of stretching out that hero dose over the course of 90 days, where you're actually receiving these real-time downloads and making the real-time perspective shifts or shifts in your life during that window of opportunity. What is a window of opportunity? That's essentially the layman term for neuroplasticity. When your mind is in that pliable, bendable, flexible space where you can actually start making new experiences. I think of neuroplasticity, and I use the metaphor of skiing. I'm a big skier. I live in North Lake Tahoe, California. I ski over 60 days a year. This year was amazing. And if I go up the chairlift and I ski down a beautiful field of fresh snow or powder, I ski down, I go back up the lift again. I'm not going to ski down those same tracks. Okay. I'm going to ski down some other tracks. Skiing down the same tracks is essentially what we do in our life. We stay in these ruts. We stay in these narratives. We stay in these stories. Raise your hand, throw out a emoji, like laughy face, just for some humility here. Who does that? Who stays in the stories, in the narratives, in the ruts, right, of our mind? Okay, who wants to break free of the stories, the narratives, the ruts of our mind? Okay, just drop it in the chat here. Okay, see, let's be honest here. Honesty creates a little bit of humility. What is another form of humility? Humor. We can laugh at ourselves. Okay, do it all the time. So during those times of the window of opportunity, skiing down that beautiful field of powder, we're not going to ski in that same track, right? Because we want something fresh, something new, something more in the moment, right? And we do that skiing, right? Or even driving to work. You drive to work, you probably take the same left turn, right turn, go down this highway, get off this exit, park in the same spot. Do the same thing for the grocery store. These are all things to pay attention to. We can retrain our mind to create new experiences, even in the little mundane things of life. Now add microdosing on top of that, and it actually creates the neurochemical opportunity in our brain that increases what I call improvisational yet flexible thinking. Improvisational yet flexible thinking, meaning we're not rigid, right? Rigidity means we're trying to hold on to something, usually control, right? We have this fear of the unknown. Okay. And someone mentioned that there's a little bit of fear here. I'm saying there's probably a collective amount of fear in this webinar today, including myself, ... caveat. Remember, I'm just a guy who knows a few things, who's gone through a few things that I like to share with you. So that essentially is neuroplasticity. And I didn't have that in my presentation because I wanted to just do the basics. But I think now we can begin while we have a little bit of flexible yet improvisational thinking, or is it improvisational yet flexible thinking? You be the judge on that. So what is it? Okay. Now you're all going to get this document. My lovely, lovely assistant here in this webinar, Elena, will drop this link in there. It's shareable. And before we begin, she's also going to share our medicine and mentorship online microdosing community that you can join. This is a 50-page document that I'm giving out to you, as well as these notes. It's Mushroom Microdosing Manifesto. It has all the protocols, the routines, the history, the use, the benefits, our product in there, links to the calendar, links to the website, all the things that you need to really just get off on the right foot. So lots of value here today, everybody. I'm not going to even try to sell you anything, but what I'm going to do is offer the link to where you can get your very own microdosing starter kit, 30, 60, 90-day capsules. It includes free shipping. It also includes this really awesome micro tracker, a microdose tracker to track your journey, track your sleep levels, your energy levels, your start date, your end date, your protocol. There's little prompts in there to journal with. It's a really, really fun workbook. And as our co-founder, Michael Hollister, used to say, there is no right way or wrong way to self-awareness. There's a lot of different ways. And that can be applied to all things in life. There is no right way or wrong way, just a lot of different ways. And I think y'all should have this in red here. Save that. You'll have the document if and when you are ready, or you can share with friends because you thought you got a ton of value out of this webinar. That is a 15% off discount code there. And our first time buyer discount code is 10% off. So a little bit extra there. I'm feeling like a little fun and fluid, and have these new windows of opportunity because I went to Burning Man. I've been to Burning Man 12 times. I didn't talk about that, but I'm feeling like my window of opportunity and my neuroplasticity is really open from the experience that I get there. Okay. You've probably seen the news, the media, all the mud, and how like the media is blasting it and making it seem worse than it really was. Hey, everybody, it was just a little rain. Okay. Rain is a good thing, especially in the Nevada desert. Rain is a good thing in NorCal. Rain is a good thing for life. Okay. We just happened to be stuck in the mud for 36, 48 hours, but we made the most of it. And if anyone ever wants to talk about Burning Man as a side conversation, I can really go beyond the surface level of the music, the art, the dust, the weird people, and all the prefabricated things you might think Burning Man is, but there's really a lot of underpinnings to Burning Man, right? It is a big experiential experiment. When you put 72,000 people, which becomes the 5th or 6th largest city in Nevada, for a week, we're bringing all of our what? All of those emotions that we listed out early on in this conversation. Okay. And we're bringing all our anxieties, one gigantic set and setting, okay, to really see what really is possible outside of this default world. I've learned a lot about through Burning Man. And I infuse it a lot into my own life, and I infuse it a lot into my business, and I infuse it a lot to what I have to say. And if that is triggering to you, well, I don't know what to tell you. I have lived a very interesting life, my friends. Okay. You've probably read here, understanding the term. At its core, microdosing, I'm just going to blast through this, is the practice of consuming minute subperceptual amounts of a psychoactive substance, often a psychedelic, to achieve benefits without the typical high or trip associated with larger doses. It was Elise, right? So she definitely probably experienced the trip with the larger dose of a macro. Measurement and scale, the exact amounts. We talked about this, 1/10 to 1/20th of a recreational dose. Okay. Contrast. So we're going to differentiate between microdosing and regular dosing. I think of microdosing as the gentle rake, scraping away at the vestiges of our ego, right? Chiseling away at the psychological bedrock that we've compounded over many, 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 many years of our life since we were birthed into this world as a little bit of human consciousness, right? Where macrodosing is the leaf blower, the snow blower. You shake up that snow globe and it's like, whoa, hang on for the ride. Microdosing is more of like a Ferris wheel at the carnival, where macrodosing is more of that roller coaster with lots of peaks and valleys and going, holy shit, what is going on right now? So effect spectrum, unlike regular doses, which can lead to profound alterations in consciousness, perception, and cognition, microdoses aim to provide a subtler, it's more gentle, it's more gradual. We talked about that, underlying changes without drastically altering one's immediate reality. User experience, regular dosing might lead to intense visual hallucinations. Okay. Hallucinations, really, those things are there already. We just don't cross the veil, right? We don't pierce the veil of our consciousness to see the hallucinations. The real hallucination is the reality that we're experiencing every single day, because our reality, right? My reality is definitely different than Dawn's or Elise's, and we could look at the same thing from different perspectives, okay? And it's really all about our internal environment, right? That is a direct reflection, a mirror outwards to our external environment. Duration and intensity, regular dose can last several hours, might require significant prep and recovery, and the effects of a microdose are often so subtle that they blend seamlessly. I love that. They're so subtle that they blend seamlessly. Remember those real-time downloads for real-time shifts. into one's daily routine. So you can be mom, dad, spouse, boss, coworker, friend, lover. You can still do all of these things that we may or may not identify with in our daily routine. Let's see here. Boom. Okay. Purpose. So let's discuss reasons people microdose, including but not limited to enhancing cognitive function. You've probably heard or read focus, creativity, concentration, deeper opportunities for introspection, creativity, right? I want to be a better artist. I want to be more motivated. I want more passion. I want more purpose. Well, why don't you have all those things? Because you already have all those things. You just need to find them and do a little excavating, right? Emotional balance, spiritual awareness. So cognitive enhancement, focus, concentration. It's not about accessing a new state of mind, but rather fine tuning the volume knob, right? The radio, the frequency. I'm guessing a lot of people in here are old enough or been around long enough to have used a radio before, right? When we want to tune into, what was my favorite station? 102.9 WBLM, Portland, Maine, right? That was like the deep tracks, like hard rock, tuning in to that frequency when you got a little too south of the border in New England, New Hampshire. I mean, tune into that frequency. That's what microdosing can do. Yes. Hey, amazing. So I want to stop here. Renee, that's an amazing question. So one of our clients, Philip, he's on a 90-day journey, which gets you a weekly 1-hour Zoom that I conduct for anyone that's a customer that wants to come on. Philip, I suggested, he's doing EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR. Has anyone ever done EMDR? It's just a kind of a gradual hypnosis, where it's a form of trauma therapy, and it can be very, very, very effective. Now, it can be even more effective when you combine that with microdosing, because what's that do? Emotional and psychological wellness. Okay, some users highlight the benefits of microdosing for emotional balance. And remember the analogy throughout this whole presentation: gently scraping away, right? Scraping away, excavating, I call it. Let's get in there, okay? So crying more often when microdosing, normal purge. Okay, this is a super common question and point of feedback when people start microdosing. That's normal, okay? I say, when you cry, don't ask why, just cry. When you cry, don't ask why, just cry. Let me break that down a little bit. When you cry, don't ask why. Why am I crying? Oh my God, I never cry. Is this normal? Oh, am I purging? Like, I don't want people to think that I'm a crybaby and like, am I too emotional? Because we always try to put some label and identity and some attachment onto the feeling that we are experiencing instead of just having the feeling. Okay. That's a beautiful practice, Renee. If you are crying, just cry. Don't ask why, just do it. Okay. Because you're purging. You're letting go of things that you've probably psychologically compacted over many areas and times of your life. And we've all done it, whether that's grief, loss of a loved one. Maybe it's a feeling of low self-worth, or aspect in your life where you didn't love yourself, or you failed, or someone, said something mean to you or horrific to you, or it might have been something your mom or your dad said to you 27 and a half years ago. Okay. These things come up. This is what I call scraping away those drosses, the barnacle, right? It's a body sensation that you are releasing from your body that you've held onto. So when you cry, don't ask why, just cry. Some people say, I'm feeling so like more tired, Ryan, or more depressed, or the kids are still triggering me. It's like, well, newsflash, I don't have children, but I know kids are very triggering. That is their job when you put them on this planet, right? Like, that is their consciousness trying to expand, and it's expanding your consciousness too. It is triggering, right? So that means it's working. Okay, triggers are these points. Crying can be a trigger too. These are points of information. These are little data points to pay attention to. And we were paying attention to mindfulness plus microdosing, which I call M&M. Okay. Mindfulness is nothing more than paying attention to our own internal awareness, free of judgment. Okay, free of judgment with lots of compassion, being grounded in the present moment. So pay attention to these things that are happening. It's telling you something, and just let it happen. Okay, stop everything that you're doing in your life and just observe your life. Okay, spiritual and personal growth, while not inducing full-blown mystical experiences of like the full psychedelic journey. Everyone wants to get to the top of the mountain without climbing the mountain and see the view. Okay, but guess what? When you're up there in that full mystical experience, you're still going to have to come down into the canyon and get up on the other side to climb another mountain. Okay, so these expanded points offer a more detailed panorama or a wide perspective. Okay, remember that rigidity that we carry around? I'm good. I'm good. Yep, I'm good. Why be good when you can be great? Okay, these expanded points offer a more detailed panorama or that wide perspective of what microdosing is and how it contrasts with regular dosing or macro. Super important, everybody, to always understand the historical context. Where and when did it start? And we have to, like, microdosing, mushrooms, LSD, especially the plant medicines, the peyotes, the ayahuascas, the psilocybins, all the earth medicines, they didn't just appear. Cannabis, they didn't just appear. They've been getting used therapeutically to enhance spiritual connection with self, others, creator, the divine, the universe, the way, God, whatever you want to call the higher realms of consciousness, your conscious contact with the universe. Let's just call it that. These ancient practices, many indigenous cultures across the globe, from the Amazon basin to the plains of Africa, have a rich history with psychedelic substances. And they've been used daily for various purposes, be it as herbal medicine or spiritual grounding. Someone's drinking oolong tea. That's a plant medicine. Earl Grey, plant medicine. My favorite plant medicine was in this cup earlier today, coffee. The most widely used tincture in the world, right? A tincture is a form of ingesting medicine, tea and coffee. I think tea actually is the most widely drank beverage in the world. And there's a variety of these. That can be plant medicines. Transmission of knowledge, my favorite, right? We just talked about that. You cry, don't squat, just cry. Transmission of knowledge. And many traditions have been passed down through generations, emphasizing respect and understanding of the plant's power. So every one of these plants, whether it's oolong, echinacea, brahmi, ashwagandha, turmeric, catnip, valerian, licorice, hawthornberry, all the things, they all have their own individual spirits of the plant, and they're going to resonate with the spirit of your own body. So it's important to develop relationships with these plants. In microdosing, not a plant, a fungus, but it's really important to know and understand, right? Really, really, really understand this key point. That just because you're microdosing doesn't mean your life is going to be blissful and amazing and you're going to be sliding down rainbows into, you know, beautiful, tranquil pools with mermaids and elven, you know, princesses everywhere. Okay. You're going to go through some stuff. Okay. But it's really important to know that it's a gradual process and it's important to develop a relationship, a practice, right? Let your body intuitively adapt to these plants, and especially the microdosing practice. That's the key to microdosing. It's gradual and it's consistent. So let's go backwards to go forwards. Sometimes it's good to keep one foot in the door of the past to learn from it. We don't have to hang out in the past, right? We can learn from it so we can have a better future. So Dr. James Fadiman, he brought microdosing to the attention of the modern world. He did this with LSD. Okay, so he had a lot of his clients, patients using LSD microdosing, subperceptual doses on a 1 day on schedule and a 2 days off schedule, a 1 day on schedule, 2 days, and then he interviewed them. He compiled a lot of data, and I won't drop in that too much. You probably heard his name, but here's a link to the book, Psychedelic Explorer's Guide. It's a really, really great book and gives a lot of great information on practices of microdosing. And Dr. James Fadiman is here in the beautiful state of California. And in the psychedelic revolution. Who was around for the psychedelic revolution in the 60s and 70s? Don't worry, it's fine. Age is just a number. I wish I was, okay? My dad was, my mom was. My dad said he used to take a lot of orange sunshine. Back in the day, LSD was in tablets, right? Orange sunshine. And those were like 300 ukes. Okay, now a pretty standard LSD dose is like 50 to 150. So can you imagine like people's faces melting? Timothy Leary, tune in, turn on, drop out, you know, Ram Dass, who was formerly known as Richard Alpert, the Harvard Psychedelic Society. Okay, who am I forgetting there? Tim, Ram, Ralph Metzner, all the very, you know, Alan Watts, all these early fellas that really kind of put this on the map. And his contribution, Psychedelic Explorers Guy, kind of brought this into the modern world. Countercultural to the mainstream, okay? Like, have you heard of a little band called the Grateful Dead? Okay, Grateful Dead was super responsible for like this great cultural revolution and spreading counterculture, right, through music and community and a lot of mind altering technologies, mushrooms being one of them, LSD being another one. Okay. And then another cool band that I followed since 1995, Fish. The East Coast kind of took the carried the torch after Jerry Garcia died. And then there's this big experiential experiment called Burning Man. So there's all this underground movement going on. And I would be surprised. Here's another piece of homework for y'all. If y'all have a therapist or know a therapist, ask your therapist if they've ever used psychedelics as an underground practice. They can't prescribe or suggest, but a lot of these people have been using these substances for decades in the underground, okay, after 1957, when LSD was removed from research as a promising tool for psychiatric health. And caveat, side note, Bill W., the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, 1935, he founded Alcoholics Anonymous. Within 20 years, he was doing large amounts of LSD in niacin. Niacin is in our formulation, acts as an antidepressant. It can actually help with the flush and get the active compounds into your system faster. He was using LSD to help people, including himself, to have that spiritual awakening, right? To blast through the ego, okay? A lot of people get sober. A lot of people, overcome these traumas and negative situations in their life, but they still hold on to these anxieties and their ego and the stories and narratives. So just a little side note there. So, yep, LIB2, spinoff of Burning Man, same with Symbiosis, and I'm sure there's plenty of other little festivals as well. You know, NorCal, Mendocino, Humboldt, Grass Valley, Lake Tahoe. These are all places that have very much lived a very counterculture underground movement that has propelled these industries forward, propelled these plants forward. Okay. Research evolution. I kind of just went through that anecdotally myself, but these are notes that you will get. This is not my favorite topic, everybody. Like, oh, Silicon Valley, Elon Musk. It's like, okay, cool, Elon. Thanks for bestowing us with your blessing that we can now use psychedelics. It's like, yo, dude, we've been using psychedelics since you were in South Africa over here. Like, you're a genius. We love you. You've done some great things. How about you fix Earth first before you go gentrify Mars or the moon? What is it, Mars? Is Elon Mars or the moon? I can't even keep these guys straight, Bezos and Musk. But anyway, Silicon Valley, Steve Jobs. Okay, Steve Jobs said that LSD was one of the most profound experiences of his life. Early tech. Okay, Apple computers. I love Apple. Maybe for that reason. Creativity, the guys at Google. Okay. I think they came up with the algorithm. The DNA helix. You know, the DNA helix was discovered on acid. Albert Hoffman, who discovered acid, the ergo fungus, accidentally, and then brought it into the world. So these are all just amazing things that will help your journey through the psychedelic experience that you're having, whether it's microdosing or a macrodose practice, to understand where these things come from, indigenous cultures, and how they've kind of infiltrated into our modern world. And they're all around you. Just look at the science, okay? The weirdness, okay? The art, the music, okay? Workplace edge, so let me drop in here why this isn't one of my favorite topics. Do we need more productivity in our world? Does the world need to move any faster than it already is? Okay, most of us in this Western world, 300 plus million people in the United States, have a very overdeveloped reactive mind and a very underdeveloped receptive mind. So the practice of microdosing that I like to teach is to develop a receptive mind, receiving, right? Receiving this field of awareness that we are all tapped into, but we don't often see because we are too busy doing what? All the things that we don't want to do anyway, writing emails, running errands, doing our books, paying our bills, working 60 hours a week, jumping into the hustle, the grind. We need, you ever realize hustle, grind, flow? Flow is the last word in that. Why can't it be flow, then hustle, grind? Let's flow more, right? Let's do less and have more, okay? That's why I'm like, oh yeah, tech, Silicon Valley, blah, blah, blah. Oh, produce. Let's build the next, generation of, um, tech, issues and technological advance. Cool. But at what expense? Arts and creativity, I can vibe with that a little bit more. Unlocking creativity. Famous endorsements, I listed off a bunch of those folks. A new muse, beyond established artists, a whole new generation. Okay, a whole new generation of creatives. Like right now, this generation, artists. You probably know a lot of artists in your life. Okay, I think someone asked me the other day, and I want to ask you all this too. Are you creative? Like, are you an artist? Like, do you like to create? And it's like, yeah, I might not take a paintbrush to a canvas. Or I'm not a woodworker. Okay, or I don't draw. I write a little bit, write a little poetry, but I play guitar. I ski, right? Like the mountains, that's my playground. That is my canvas. So, what is your canvas for creativity? Think about that. Okay, we are all creative. My friend Andrew Kohlauer on here. He's a badass surfer, right? The water, the waves, right? The ocean. That is his canvas to create on. So these are all great benefits when you're microdosing. You can start seeing where you're creative in life. Maybe it's cooking. Maybe it's being an awesome mom, right? Maybe it's designing clothes for your children. These are all very creative processes that we don't think about because we have an overreactive mind that we have to produce and make money and do all these things. Money's cool. Who doesn't like money, right? It can afford you the luxuries of life, but it is not everything. I grew up with a family friend. He made a lot of money. Really awesome guy. Big fella, foundation contractor. I've known him for 35 years, over 35 years. And he used to always say, Brian, money isn't everything. It's the only thing. Okay. And that stuck with me many years. And I've made a lot of money in my life. I've lost a lot of money in my life. Okay. I've had no money in my life. I've lived on couches, right? I've been that guy on a couch. Okay. But it's not the only thing. Okay. So think about all the other things in your life that bring you wealth and success. I live in Lake Tahoe. I feel like I've made it. I look at the mountains and the lake and the trees every single day. So, homework assignment. Think of the ways that you can be creative in your life. And microdosing, if that's for you, start paying attention to those things. Stigma reduction. So the increasing acceptance, right? Acceptance is the answer to all our problems today. Without acceptance, I can find no peace or serenity until I accept people, places, and things exactly as they are in this present moment. I cannot live a life of centeredness, groundedness, and being happy in the present moment. So that includes you all. Okay, so the increasing acceptance, just because you're here, means you're accepting this practice of microdosing is playing a role in reducing stigma around psychedelic substances, cannabis, hemp, CBD. Let's just call it alternative forms of healing, from taboo to talked about. So they were often seen with suspicion or outright hostility. Why? Who wants other people, right? The peasants, us, right? People that aren't in the military industrial complex, right? That are, the power and the greed expanding their minds and piercing through the veil, right? No one wants that. Okay, that's why during Vietnam, the war on drugs, 1972, good old President Richard Nixon targeted the Vietnam era of the hippies with weed and psychedelics, and the minorities, black and brown people, okay? The jazz culture and what they do with the heroin, okay? And they filled up all the jails. And then the military industrial prison complex became a massive profit center for many, many, many powerful people. Follow the money. Why don't we have cannabis as a schedule off Schedule 1? It's a plant. That's wild. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate you being here. You'll get some replays and all that good stuff. Legal impacts, changing tides, advocacy and research, future of psychedelics. I'm not going to go into that too much. You can, again, review these notes. Several regions in North America: California, Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Massachusetts, DC, Colorado. There's probably a few others that I'm forgetting there. And combination of grassroots activism. Get acquainted with what's going on in your area, your region, right? There's plenty of psychedelic societies going on. Decriminalized Nature. These are all great resources to tap into. And the basics of microdosing. I did not want to go. We talked a lot about that in this document. Here's a video I made on the basics of microdosing. You have the Fadiman, the 1 day on, 2 day off, the Staments, 4 on, 3 off, and then the other day protocol. Dosage guidelines, we talked a lot about that. I threw LSD in here because LSD is another compound that is used quite regularly. I use it regularly. I macrodose on LSD quite a bit, and microdose on it. And LSD is just one of those compounds that can really help with introspection and really removing ourselves from the event or the situation or the trauma and look different vantage point. And little story, who wants another story? LSD. Okay, so I was at Burning Man recently, and I was camping with all these people I didn't really know. And I heard that a fella, Jeremy, had done some LSD the night before. Okay, and it was LSD that came from me through someone else. And this gentleman is a stunt coordinator for a lot of really big name television shows. Okay, I'll keep his anonymity. And I was like, wait, what? Like, he'd never done LSD, but he's been going to Burning Man? This is wild. How is he never? I'm going to go ask him how his experience was. So I asked this guy. I did not expect to hear what I heard from him. I'm like, are you sure you've never done this before? But what he said, he's like, it all made sense. He goes, I was like, I got the message. What's the message? Everything is going to be okay, Brian. I've been holding on to things for so many years of my life, and I'm 48 years old, and I realized everything just compartmentalized. They broke apart. Thank you, Elise. Appreciate you. They broke apart, and I was able to look at all these events in my life as just single experiences, but I grouped them all together, and I've been holding on to them. I feel so much lighter, and I had to move away from the group that I was with last night because I had to sit with myself. And he used the word introspective. I got introspective, and I dug deep, and I just let it go, and it all made sense. And the best part about it, and this is what I love about ingesting these compounds and substances in a very intentional way. He said, I always used to think of these as drugs, as that compound as a drug, but it was a medicine. Right when it started working, I realized it was a medicine. That's it. These are all medicines. Alcohol is a medicine, just how you use it, right? Do you use it for escapism or do you use it for expansion? So, another great question to ask yourselves, is this spiritually expansive or spiritually constricting? Alcohol, very spiritually constricting. Psychedelics, very spiritually expansive. Meditation, very spiritually expansive. Okay. So, great question. Spiritually expansive or is it spiritually constricting? So, that was my little story about LSD. And it was just phenomenal to hear that perspective. And it really tickled my heart a little bit, because that's another one that just blasted through the conditioning of our society that we think of as reality. Why people go to jail for these things, right? Remember I was saying that? Why people go to jail is the government doesn't want mind expansion, right? Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but yourselves can free your mind. Bob Marley. We talked about the Fadiman protocol, alternative schedules. Remember, there's no right way or wrong way, just a lot of different ways. Safety first, clean substances. Just a little shameless self-promotion here. We test everything. We have 14 ingredients in one capsule, 100 milligrams of psilocybin that's grown by a mycologist in Sonoma County. The 13 other ingredients in there, 6 adaptogenic mushrooms. You get your lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, reishi, chaga, agricon, 5 botanicals, sea moss, brahmi, holy basil, turmeric, and ashwagandha, and niacin and magnesium threonate, rounding out the 2 essential nutrients. All of those are sourced from small to medium-sized family farms in Northern California, and they're all batch tested individually, and then the whole homogenized batch with the 14 in one capsule is tested. So clean. We want clean. Legal implications. It is what it is. So a lot of people say, how are you doing this? We're just doing it. Okay. I'll leave it at that. Because if someone doesn't do it, someone else will. Someone has to. Okay. Let's not ask for permission. Let's ask for forgiveness. And I was reading a New York Times article last year. And in that New York Times article, it said, why are we spending billions of dollars a year to get these drugs off the street when we should be spending them on, quote, alternative health solutions? Okay. Treatment, rehab, detox, alternative treatment solutions like this, microdosing, like this, education, weekly calls, a community, and set and setting. Okay. Set what you're bringing to the table in your internal environment, your psyche, your heart. Remember? And look at that. Right back to the beginning. Kind of a fun little thing I wanted to point out to y'all. That was the set that you all brought right there. Okay. And the setting was this webinar. Okay. So how are you all feeling now? Drop it in the chat. Some of you are feeling anxious and fearful and guilty and shameful. If you're still feeling that, that's fine. Totally fine. So the set was what you brought to this presentation. Okay? And the setting was this presentation. Just like a set and setting in a psychedelic experience or microdosing or even meditation or prayer. You can go about your daily business in a set and setting. You don't even have to be ingesting psychedelics. But how are we now? Excited, hopeful and warm. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling connected, actually. Do you see what I said? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Okay, I was anxious. I was tired. I didn't sleep too good last night. A little headache this morning, a little sinusy thing. Jumped in the lake. Took a super long hot shower. But I'm feeling more connected now. Okay, I was a little shy. Not to lie, I was a little scared. Okay, how's this going to go? Right? And that usually comes from, how's this going to go, that I don't trust in myself. Okay. I'm not giving myself enough credit. I'm too hard on myself. Right. I'm an imperfect perfectionist, I like to say. And I'm also a very practical spiritualitist is a word I made up. Very practical when it comes to spirituality. Okay. You can't have one without the other. You have to merge the material with the spiritual world and follow your weird. Okay. So that is our set and setting, everybody. And look at that. A little bit of connection goes a long way. And my lovely assistant with Metasmogs there, Alana, is dropping our school community. I'm going to show you that here in a second. The Google Doc to all these notes. This recording, you will get a replay within 24 hours. You'll get some more information. And there we are, right there. If we had to visualize what we're all feeling, a little bit more expanded, a little bit more connected, a little bit more unified, if you will. And just more things to show you all. When you sign up for, if you do so, sign up for the school platform medicine and mentorship. These are all in the classroom section. Okay, this is our community. So you can post in here, you can meet new people. On the desktop, there's my calendar link. Here's the microdosing starter kit. Look at Stephanie there, leaderboard. She's been contributing a lot. These are pinned here. Basics of microdosing protocols. Is it actually what I linked in this Google Doc? Community and microdosing. How to use this to your advantage. And then all here are all just posts from community members, myself. And it should be noted that here, let's go on this. Every Tuesday, when you become a customer, I do a weekly 1 hour Zoom for customers. Okay. Sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's a little, sometimes it's just me, sometimes it's me with one other person. And it was me with one other person yesterday. And I learned a lot from him, from his practice, right? And what I always do is I always summarize the notes, right? I take some notes, I take a lot of mental notes, right? Microdosing allows your brain to be a little bit of a sponge and retain a lot of information, good information. So you'll see in the community here, anything with a date or community discussion or weekly integration meeting with a date. And then I just do a little bit of a summary rundown of what we talked about, okay? And turn it into a little bit of a value add for the folks that didn't make it, right? So, free of ego versus ego death, ketamine versus psilocybin, being in the medicine. Okay, what's it mean to be being in the medicine? Like being in that flow. Remember the hustle, grind, flow? It should be flow, grind, hustle. So being in the medicine, flowing, right? Combining microdosing and therapies. We talked about EMDR. And then this is something I always like to say is microdosing is a thing to get you, capital letters, to a thing. And that thing is you. It's really to help you get to the core and the essence of who you really are. Self-awareness achieved. That is our tagline at Metasmogs. Self-awareness achieved. I'm less interested in how people get there, and I'm most interested in just getting there. Okay, however that may be. There's no right way or wrong way, just a lot of different ways. And with self-awareness, it is like the sun. Wherever you shine it, you have the ability to transform these things, transform our shadow, bring our shadow to light, right? Start that project that you've always wanted to start. Start that art piece, right? Call that friend. Call the family member, right? Have that conversation. Start the things, right? It's to get you to the thing. That thing is you. With self-awareness, you can really achieve a lot of things, right? Mind you, it's not enlightenment, right? A lot of people, enlightenment. I'm on a journey to enlightenment. Okay, we're not, in my very humble opinion, none of us ever really achieve enlightenment. That's the point. The journey to enlightenment is through self-awareness. Okay, just remember that. So self-awareness is important about how you get it, and more important of just getting there. Okay. So here's that little bit there. And then the classroom, these are all free little mini courses. Okay. For the moms out there, this is a great one we did with Michaela De La Mico, Maternal Shift, Microdosing for Moms. One of our collaborators, Dr. Erica Zeppelin, Psychedelics and Recovery. She does a lot of clinical work up in Oregon. These here, this is a book that I wrote, Micro Reflections for the 21st Century. You can get that on our website. And I just do, I have fun reading every chapter, right? I read every chapter and I do a little riff on every chapter, just like I'm riffing. If you couldn't tell, I talk a lot. I'm pretty heady, like cerebral kind of. But these are all free. And I like to put this in the classroom just for more value for everyone. Okay. Keep your head in clouds, feet firmly on the ground. Okay. Just a little summary of what it is. You can listen to it. Feet on the ground, head in the sky. It's okay. I know nothing's wrong. Nothing. David Byrne. Do you think maybe he was on some sort of psychedelic trip, meditation, something when he came up with that lovely line of the song that we all know and love so well, even though we don't even think we know and love it so well? That's a little bit of a joke there. So the classroom and then the micro tracker. Okay. If you do become a customer, you get the workbook. And then this is a video that I break down on how to use it, just one way on how to use it. Pretty cool. And then all the webinars that I've done once a month, and you're on our list, so you'll get invited to this, we post in here. Okay. So this, I did this basics of microdosing, dropped into dosing protocols and benefits a lot more in the last one. Better view of reality. I talked a lot about microdosing and mindfulness and like what anxiety is. Okay. We know anxiety, but can we really rationalize and understand it? So like where it comes from. Okay. So understanding these problems that we're trying to overcome with the solution of microdosing is big. So this conversation will be in here, and this is all accessible for all of you. So that presentation